Hello there and welcome back to another review. So today we're going to be having a look at the second to last movie that I've got to get through from this amazing Shaw Brothers box set from Arrow Video. There's just two more to go, including this one. And we're going to be having a look at Executioners from Shaolin today. This film here is in many ways sort of the precursor to Clan of the White Lotus, with Lieh playing that white-haired eunuch Pai Mei here. We have Chen Kuan-tai, Gordon Liu is in this film. Very briefly, Gordon Liu is in this movie in a small but sort of pivotal role, sort of nonetheless. And of course we have Wong here, and there's not many films that you can say this where the lead spends the majority or the whole of the film dressed in drag, which is what Wong Yu's character does. In many ways, this movie is sort of eccentric in its nature, made in 1977 and directed by the master that is Lieh Kar-leung. I think with this movie, it's a film that flows really nicely, Executioners from Shaolin. As I say, if you go back to my Clan and the White Lotus review did a while back, Executioners from Shaolin in many ways is sort of the precursor to that movie. So it flows really nicely. There's many reviews of this where I say, it's sort of a so-so affair, or it's a bit average, or whatever it may be. I think this is a great effort, this movie, from everyone involved. It's one of them things that Lieh Kar-leung at work on an average day, he was still good. Lieh Kar-leung, even just an average day at the office, his films were still sort of a cut above the rest. Even Lieh Kar-leung just firing not on all cylinders, he still gives you a good kung fu movie. He was still a master of his class, and like I say, this movie is no exception. To others, though, the Executioners from Shaolin to a lot of people is a classic. A lot of people do love this movie, and what I love about this movie is you get a great cast. The plot, the plot, even though by the numbers, is still entertaining. And though the first third of the movie does take a while to get going, it's that idea. What I like about this movie is that idea of multi-generational. Like, it does skip a number of years a couple of times. And I do like that, in that months don't just pass in this movie. Years and years do pass. We have Chen Kuan-tai here, a guy who likes to dress as a woman, our hero, a simple plot. Lieh's amazing villain, great choreography, and as eccentric as the film is, I think the pacing of the movie is what works really well in Executioners from Shaolin. Though, as I say, I think the film does slow down somewhat after the initial opening. It really doesn't take long for Lieh Kar-leung to put his foot on the gas. Chen Kuan-tai is probably one of my all-time favourite Shaw Brothers performers if you go back to various Shaw Brothers movies I've reviewed before. Chen Kuan-tai I've always had a bit of a soft spot for. He's always been one of my favourites, largely due to Boxer from Shantung being one of my all-time favourite Shaw Brothers movies that I've mentioned 300, 400, 500 times. It's one of my all-time favourites. And just like with Boxer from Shantung here, Chen Kuan-tai just carries the film so well. Wong Yu, as with here, if you remember him from Dirty Ho, is perfect in this as well. We also have Lieh here, who many of you will probably remember from Young Master as the woman who sort of fights Jackie with the skirt. So the film opens with Lieh, the evil Pai Mei, dueling Li Hoi-sang's monk in a surreal red soundstage. It's quite a trippy opening, this film. Li Hoi-sang you would remember from many movies. As I say, it's this surreal soundstage and background, and we learn this is actually part of the movie narrative. This isn't actually just two people having a spar, just showing you what's going to happen in the movie. No, this actually what is happening is part of the narrative. He kicks Pai Mei in a very sensitive area and gets dragged along the floor, such is the power of, kung fu. And, if they're a kung fu eunuch, they know that they've always got a bit more powers than most, it seems. So Chen Kuan-tai plays Hong, and we also at the start meet Gordon Liu, his brother played, and his name's Tong. So the basic premise is their Shaolin temple has been burned and their master been killed. Gordon Liu, much like in Shaolin Mantis, he's only here, as I mentioned, very briefly. If you recall Shaolin Mantis with David Chang, he's like Gordon Liu's at the start and then that's it, and it's very much the same here. Gordon Liu sort of opens up the movie, helps open up the movie, and then his character Tong, just as I say, he just goes basically only there for sort of the initial fight and gets killed off. But what is great with what they do here with Gordon Liu, it's not right, he's there, now he's gone. They give him quite a substantial opening fight here. in a great fight sequence, and it's a fantastic way to start the film. It does work with the narrative of the story that follows. So Tong's able, Gordon Liu enables to do, he enables Hong to sort of escape by fighting the enemy. He gets ambushed by archers, and what I love as well with this fight scene, it goes on much longer than it needed to. Like, Kar-leung could have probably wrapped this up in a couple of minutes, but he does really make a point of this fight scene, and as I say, it's a bit of sort of a grand type of opening to the movie where Gordon Liu really does get to shine. Plus, I could have been over quick with Tong taking on the Manchus, but Kar-leung tries to squeeze as much of that scene as he can out of it. And unfortunately, it ends with him getting shot by about 15 arrows and stabs. So that's the end of Gordon Liu's character. So some of the survivors run into these opera rebels who take them to Hong. He says to his fellow students, Tong died tragically. How did you know Tong died tragically? You bailed and wasn't there. I mean, he's just assuming that Tong died. I mean, there is a small... I mean, he didn't survive, but surely there's a small chance he might have survived. And he's just assuming, no, Tong died tragically. That's the end of him. As I say, he wasn't there, so I guess he just assumes. So they meet on a boat to plan their next move, and Hong is like, they can't kill us all, keep practicing your kung fu and don't get rusty, keep your spirits up, hang in there, they can't kill us all, there's too many of us for them to keep us down. And they have these red boats that were apparently used by the Shaolin Temple and disguised as sort of theatre troops. So they dock at a town where Hong meets Yung Chan, played by Lieh. First thing she says as soon as they get off the boat, the first thing that comes out of her mouth is she's not impressed by their kung fu. That's one of the first place she goes to. She's not impressed by their kung fu. I mean, very nice, So we learn some months have passed. Like I say, this is a multi-generational film. This film does skip years. It's not just told at one point in time. This film does, that's what I like about this movie. I think the pacing works, as I mentioned, and the idea that it does skip years, which I think is quite different, So she's not impressed by their kung fu, and we learn months have passed, and Hong and her get getting close, and then it's like their wedding day, right? So it's their wedding day. What gets me is, wasn't he saying to keep focused and keep practicing, avenge, so we can avenge our fallen brothers and don't get rusty and sort of don't get distracted? He's busy tying the knot. He's busy getting married. I don't recall him saying, fall in love or anything like that, but I guess you can't. Sometimes these things are out of our control. So it's all quite laughy, jokey at this point in the movie, as if they've forgotten sort of what happened at the start with like the massacre and everything else, and it's sort of they're just sort of chilling out, just totally oblivious to what happened at the start of the movie. But I guess the idea is that their characters are meant to be young and they're still sort of experiencing life and that kind of thing. Now, it does seem Hong's brother can't leave them alone for the majority of the time, him and his new missus-to-be. Gives them any space. So he can't get no action on their wedding night, as he can't spread her knees, quite literally. Because he can't spread her knees, he doesn't get any action. So he sort of, he does finally manage to get her knees open, and, well, you get the idea. You get the idea with that one. So the Manchus start burning all the red boats. Then our heroes go ashore and Yung Chong goes into labour. So she has a boy, and then we fast forward 6 months. It does a time skip I mentioned a few times in the movie. Hong is proficient in tiger style when Yung Chong, his wife, does crane style, but they don't actually learn from each other. They don't let that come into their marriage and their relationship, sort of teaching each other kung fu. It's not something they go forward with in any way. Then we skip again another 10 years, and Yung Chong is now teaching her son kung fu, and he is teased for being like a girl. Chen Kuan-tai now has a mustache, which I think when he's got a mustache, it always just suits him so well. But it's so much, but like when he's got the mustache, and it's like, now that's the Chen Kuan-tai. I remember, that's usually if he's in a villainous role, he's usually got the tash going on. It always suits him. He learns of Pai Mei's hideout, and to quote Hong, he must defeat the white-browed hermit, is what he says. He is too stubborn to learn his wife's crane technique, so he goes straight to Whitebrow's temple, right? He goes straight there. If you remember, like a bit like in Clan of the White Lotus, where Gordon Liu's character just goes straight there, right? And then he gets beat, he comes back, he does training, goes straight back to the temple. It's the same kind of thing here. He just goes straight there, right? He goes straight there. Just walks right in. So Hong has to defeat two swordsmen. And I think as well, then Clan of the White Lotus, there was 2 swordsmen as well. So he has to defeat 2 swordsmen, which he does with ease. I'm pretty sure Lam Ching-ying is one of the guards too. If you look closely, if you have seen this movie, I'm pretty sure Lam Ching-ying is one of the guards, one of the sort of fall guys, stunt guys, who's there. As it turns out, his target style is just no match, and whilst falling down the stairs, he sort of after runs away. Pai Mei sends like this concrete structure down after him, which is blocked by his brother. Zil Hu, I think his name, and his brother sort of comes out of nowhere for some reason. I'm not sure where he has been and why he only comes out at this precise moment, like to sort of save Hong. And before he dies, he informs him that he has to hit Pai Mei's pressure points between 1 and 3 o'clock. Right, so he suddenly knows this. I don't know how he knows this, but he's quickly saved Hong at the split second, and he's informed him that you've got to hit his pressure points at a certain time of the day. And that, as I keep stressing, it's a nice idea, it's a nice touch with all the time skits, and they do put grey in Hong's hair, which is a small but noteworthy thing to show that he is ageing. If you remember, like in 8 Diagram Pole Fighter, when sort of they gave Gordon loose stubble. I do like little things like this, where they have given Hong some grey hair, because it does show that time is elapsing, time is passing forward, and they are sort of paying attention to things like that. So now we go forward even more, and now enters Wong Yu as sort of his grown-up son. In a way, this film is like Lieh Kar-leung, showing that Kung Fu sort of, I think the whole idea was that Kung Fu sort of has no sexuality. Wong Yu in this is a male who sort of cross-dresses. The notion that, Yong is encouraging, like his mum is sort of encouraging his Kung Fu. Even when he shows other kids a lesson, like when he's younger, she smiles. She's quite happy for her son to be practicing and learning Kung Fu. A lot of times in Kung Fu movies, the parents are against them learning, or they don't want them to turn into, they'd much rather they focus on their studies. Here, his mum is more than happy that he's turning into a bit of a fighter. So Wong Yu keeps testing his father to the point that it's disrupting dinner and just makes a mess of the house, as he knows like crane style. And this is the thing, he knows crane style, but his father doesn't. As I mentioned, his mum and dad have not allowed each other to teach each other their respective styles. Hong has been training on a copper dummy to practice finding and striking Pai Mei's pressure points. So he goes, again, like with Clan of the White Lotus, he goes to challenge him again. And Yong Chung has been feeling he won't be able to escape this time. When his son goes after him to make him change his mind, and he won't be able to escape. It's like his mum is totally terrified. He won't be able to escape. And Hong is like, look, if I put it off any longer, I'm just going to turn into a coward. That's his whole mentality. Look, if I keep putting this off, if I don't do it, I'm just going to eventually lose the courage to even confront him. And if I don't do it now, I'm just going to turn into a coward. So I love him having to sort of ascend the stairs with the bow staff, fighting off Pai Mei's followers, and some nice wide shots here too. And it must have been a nightmare, sort of when it comes to footwork, making sure your foot and balance are on, because I say they're fighting on a set of stairs, so it must have been hard, especially in terms of the choreography, to get your feet in right and your footing right, sort of on that uneven surface going up these stairs. And it's a great little scene of him sort of fighting as he's going up these steps. We actually see our director here, Lieh Kar-leung, as one of the guards here, getting in on the action, and why not? It's his movie, Lieh Kar-leung, great to see him. So I actually like this scene. Another thing I like about it is it's a super bright and sunny day too, like when he's trying to get in there and sort of get rid of Pai Mei's followers. It's a really bright sunny day too, and it's just a nice looking fight scene. The guards block all exits, though Hong is now better. He still can't get through Pai Mei's body protection. There's just something so menacing and downright evil with Lo Lieh in this get-up when he is in that Pai Mei costume and everything. It's so synonymous with like Kung Fu movies, and that image of Lo Lieh as like the Pai Mei of the evil eunuch, you just can't help it. It's like a role he was born to play, with the laugh and then piercing strong eyes that he has. So he traps Hong's legs in the private area and attacks his legs, and turns out he has trained his weak points to sort of move around his body, the crafty swine that he is. So Hong is initially going to be taken alive, but in his last ounce of strength he kills some of the Manchu guards. So Wending and Yong Chung suspect he is dead, and Wong Yu sets off to even the score, and his mum is like, don't use my Kung Fu unless you have to, for some reason. Why? Why can't he just use crane style and whatever he needs to do? It's like, you've taught him. Why is it always in these kung fu movies, you know, never reveal that you've got this technique, or make sure you don't ever fight with it, you know? So it's like, I'm sorry, Mum, you know, I'll use whatever, you know, I must to kill, like, this white-browed hermit, as they always refer to him as. She says to him to use tiger style. There's just two problems with that. One, Hong actually didn't do well with it, and two, turns out he never actually taught his son tiger style either. So there's two, you know, tiger style's not going to work anyway. And second, his son doesn't even know it. So he goes to learn from his dad's tiger manual, but it turns out half of it has been destroyed by like mice or something. Like, it's completely rotten, as it doesn't want his mum to know that the manual has been destroyed. He says to her, don't watch me train, as it will just remind you of father, because he's really trying to hide the fact that this manual is sort of all but destroyed. So he makes out the rest of the moves, and I have to say Lieh as Yong Chen is perfect, especially with some of her facial expressions. I mean, this is, you know, with her expressions, she really does give off that sense of somebody who has lost someone and who is going through sort of a grief cycle. So Wong Yu goes to take on Pai Mei with crane style and some of the tiger style. We'll say the end fight, though good, this is where the film does slip a little bit. I don't think it lives up to what we've seen so far in the movie, mainly to the fact, when they do this quite a lot of times actually, if you look at 36 Chambers of Shaolin, that's a very short end fight scene, and it's the same here. It's just over so damn quickly, and it doesn't seem quite as epic and like as full on as this end fight could have been. I was expecting so much more, but it seems that it's over relatively quickly. I think it's a fight that could have probably done with a few extra minutes here and there of screen time. And it just, to me, lacks any major tenacity and urgency, unfortunately. It's still a good fight. It's just, oh, so brief. You know, it really is such a short fight scene. It's sort of over, like, before it even starts. And after beating Pai Mei, the film ends with a text saying Pai Mei was killed by a combination of tiger and crane techniques. But as I say, a lot of people do love Executioners from Shaolin. I know there's a lot of fans of this movie out there. I am one as well. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a perfect kung fu movie, but it's still one worth checking out for Lieh in that synonymous sort of villain role. Like I say, Chen Kuan-tai here, Lily Lee, Wong Yu wearing drag for most of it. It's still highly enjoyable. Wong Yu is having a blast here. Great choreography, as you would expect. Chen Kuan-tai is reliable as ever. And it's a worthy addition to this box set, and a worthy addition to anyone's sort of kung fu collection. So if you have seen Executioners from Shaolin, do you like it? Is it one of your favourites? Do you prefer it to Clan of the White Lotus? You know, that kind, because they'll say these two films and this one, they are sort of connected. But yeah, let me know, and I hope you've enjoyed the review. Just one more film to go from this box set, and that'll be coming up very, very shortly. So thank you very much indeed for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the review. I'll see you soon.
Don't concentrate on the finger, or you will miss all that heavenly glory.